Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to a bit of a different video than I was planning to film for this review video. As you guys saw from the title, I'm going to be doing a one brand review slash tutorial, I guess, on Stilazzi. And I've been meaning to do this brand review for a long time and I just kind of, things kept getting in the way. I knew it was going to be a time intensive, or not time intensive, but it was going to be extended, a long review because their brushes, they have a lot of them. And for one, I really wanted to be able to try all of them really well, but I also wanted to be able to wash them and just see how they wore over time. And I have done that. I can't remember when they actually sent these to me, but I've owned them for a long time. I've washed them all several times, and now I'm ready to share my thoughts with you. And then because there are so many, any brushes that I don't use, you can go to my blog and I'm going to be reviewing each brush individually over on my blog. And on top of that, on my blog, I will also offer what I consider not dupes, but similar brushes. So if you see a brush that's like, oh, this looks like a really cool brush, and you're thinking you really need that in your collection, I'm gonna go ahead and list below that any brushes that I find in my collection that are similar to it, just so you can kind of look in your own collection and be like, oh, okay, like this would be a really unique brush to add to my collection because I don't own anything similar. So I hope that will be helpful. That is going to be on my blog though, just so I don't make this too long or lengthy. But basically, I'm just going to put on my makeup. I'm going to relax after this day, this week, put on my makeup, talk to you about the brushes I'm using. I'm also going to be reviewing the Borderline Intense Gel Eyeliners from Stilazzi, and then also their Stilazzi Bahamas Blush Palette. Those are the three categories of products that I have from Stilazzi. So that's what I'm going to be reviewing throughout this video. I hope that sounds good to you. Oh, I did want to say, let me know what you think about the lighting, or not even the lighting, but the color of my video. I actually purchased one of those like grayscale cards. It's supposed to be a card that helps you perfect the white balance on your camera. I did it and I feel like I look really yellow, but let me know what you think. Maybe I just imagine myself to be a lot less yellow than I am in real life. I don't know. Let me know what you think about the quality of the coloring in this video. I would really like to know, because that's one thing I definitely want to improve since I'm doing reviews and, you know, now a lot of more on camera application. I want you to be able to see true to color, the colors I'm putting on my eyes and stuff like that. So definitely let me know. But anyway, let's get into the review, but also me putting on my makeup. I'm gonna go ahead and put on a concealer just as a base for my eye makeup. My favorite brush, and this is honestly one of my favorite brushes from Stilazzi, is their face primer brush, the S502 brush. But this brush, I mean, it says for face primer, which I feel like that would take you a long time to put on. I guess it'd be nice for like pointed application now that I'm thinking about it, but I saw it and I was like, I'm never gonna use that, but it is perfect for blending out your concealer or base or whatever kind of, you know, foundation you put on your eyes before you do your eyeshadow. I just find that even if I wanna kind of get really up close to my brows, it's nice. It has a little bit of taper on it. And I'm sure if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably been seeing it in a ton of my Instagram tutorials whenever I use concealer. This is seriously all I've been using to blend it out. I used to just use my finger, but I mean, I'll still use that if I don't have this brush handy, but if this brush is handy, I like using it because it blends it out so nicely and I don't have to get my finger dirty, so it's just a little pro. And this is a really unique brush to my collection. I really don't have much like it. It's just kind of like a mini of those paddle foundation brushes that everyone kind of overlooks, myself included. But because it's so small, it just works perfectly for my eyes and is hands down probably one of my favorite from all of the brushes they sent over. I have just been loving using this for my concealer. Definitely one I would recommend and I really do enjoy. So for my eyeshadows, I am going to be using the Makeup Revolution London. I'm very confused on what their name is now. I think it's just Revolution. The Emily Edit collection, her Wants palette. Here it is. I haven't used it yet, but one thing I will say for this palette, I feel like typically when large palettes like this come out, like the Jaclyn Hill palette, they tend to have just so many colors that are super similar, or just like, you know, it's just a gradient of the same color for the majority and then maybe some pops of colors in there. But I will hand it to Emily that she did a really good job of putting as much variety in this palette as she possibly could. I was really impressed. There's a really nice kind of, the corduroy color is like a blue-green, there's greens, which I'm very excited for. There's purples, there's reds, there's pinks, there's still neutrals. So I just love that there is a variety of colors. Still very neutral. I'm not saying that this is crazy, you know, vibrant, but they're still very neutral colors, very easy colors, but there's a variety of colors in here. So I was just very impressed with that, especially for it being such a large palette, because that's typically my complaint with large palettes. For me personally, when I see large palettes come out, I'm just like, there's so many colors that are so similar. You could take out 10 shadows and not miss them. So thumbs up, Emily, I really like that. This should come as no surprise to you, but I really want to do something green. Before we do that though, I am going to use the Stilazzi, they're all going to be Stilazzi brushes, I don't need to tell you that, but I'm using the L224 brush, this brush right here, and I'm going to dip into cream and use that just to highlight my, let's see, I'm going to put this palette down and use a smaller palette. It's very large, it's very heavy, but I'm going to use this to highlight my under eye and kind of set a little bit in the crease. I'm not really wanting to really set all of my shadows. I've heard Emily described this palette as a buildable formula, so not like super intense pigment. So I feel like it'd probably be best to have something of a sticky base there for the shadows. So that was the L224 brush. As I said, it's a super soft brush. I will say that, so soft. And it's very large, but I really like it for if I'm gonna do an all over setting of the eyes, or even like I just did now, setting the brow bone. It's a little too large to set my brow bone or just, you know, highlight with a matte shade after the eye look is done because it is so large, but I love it for setting my eyes. It's really nice, really fluffy, incredibly soft. I've washed this a ton. No bristles have come out. It's still as soft as ever. It's not too scratchy. So I really do like this brush, and this is kind of overtaking one of my holy grails, which is a discontinued brush, so it's nice to have another brush to recommend to you guys. Overall, I do like this brush though. And then I'm gonna take their L215 brush. I'm gonna go into Hobby here, just a full tone taupey brown. And I'm gonna take that on that big fluffy brush, tap it off, just because I've never used it, and then take that into the crease. This is also a brush that, I guess if you're really critical, it's a little bit scratchy, not as scratchy as Morphe brushes, I will say. And I've washed this several times, so after washing Morphe brushes a couple times, they're pretty darn scratchy. And this is just a little bit. I guess mostly towards like kind of the outer edge. I don't know if you can see. I'll go ahead and zoom out. So I don't know if you'll be able to see there, but there are some bristles. I'm not coordinated. There are some bristles sticking out, which is something I noticed mainly with this brush, almost like they're all bent, but I'm super gentle with my brushes, so I don't really know why they're doing that. But that's, this fluffy brush is the only one I noticed that to do that with the eyeshadow brushes, is to have a couple of stray bristles there, and I can probably just cut them, and I probably will at some point, but I just haven't thought to. So. This brush, it's not the softest blending brush I've ever had, but I will compare it to the E40, and depending on the price, I like them both equally. This brush is just a little bit more fluffier than the E40s from Sigma that I own, so I do like that about it. And when I want a really large fluffy brush just to lay down that initial color in the crease and just kind of start the color in your crease, this has been the brush I'm reaching for. So I think we're just gonna dive right in, and I'm gonna use this corduroy shade right here. We're gonna take this color, slightly scary because it is a deep color, but I'm going to stick that mostly on the outer corner, and then once I lay it down, I'm gonna blend it up into the crease. And I didn't even tell you, I'm using the L216 brush. This is very much like, let me go ahead and show you. This is the previous brush I used. This is the brush I'm using now. So they're very similar. This is just a smaller version, and it's a little more pointed in its taper. So I like this for kind of detailed work, getting right into that crease, but still being a large fluffy brush. I'm trying to keep it below that taupey shade, Hobby, that we put down before. All right, there we go for that shade. I'm just gonna go back to that really large brush that I took Hobby on. I'm not gonna put any more of Hobby on. I'm just gonna use it to blend over that, just to try to both blend the edges of corduroy, but also bring back a little bit of that color. All right, now I'm gonna take Dark and Early, that black, on a L218 brush, more of a pencil, pointed pencil brush. And I am going to just put that right on the outer corner. This brush, and maybe because it's so pointy, does feel a little scratchy. And I'm also taking into consideration that in this look I'm using it to pack on. I'm not really blending, so anyway, with that packing on motion, because it's so tapered, I can really tell that the ends of this brush aren't exactly the softest. It gets the job done, but when it comes to pencil brushes, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but Sigma has a really nice pencil brush. I own several of them and I love to use them for this exact purpose, and I never remember them being scratchy at all. So it gets the job done, but I know of softer brushes and I don't know off the top of my head which one's cheaper, Sigma or this. Check my blog, as I said in the beginning, I'm gonna have the comparison and I'll let you know there. Depending, you know, if it's a lot cheaper than Sigma, maybe it'd be worth it, but part of me says just wait and save up for the Sigma. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with the S212 brush. This is a large blender brush. It kind of reminds me of the E40, except it's a little more pinched, and I don't know if it's just because of the packaging it's shipped in, because the ferrule isn't pinched, but I've washed this a ton and it always goes back to this shape, which I wish it wouldn't, but it does. Anyway, we're gonna use it and we're gonna go back into corduroy, and just for the sake of using another brush to kind of demo, I'm going to put corduroy back in. And I'm actually gonna bring it in a little bit farther. This brush is really nice, and it's actually the softness of these bristles remind me more of Sigma quality as opposed to those other ones that are a little bit scratchier. So I do like that about it. So next brush I'm gonna use is the L221 brush. This is another favorite of mine. It's a really nice flat brush for packing onto the lid. I'm gonna go in with Side Hustle first. I'm gonna put Side Hustle on the center of the lid. But yeah, this brush is really nice. It's a really nice flat shader brush. And once again, it reminds me of a Sigma brush that I would typically use, but I mean, this one does the job really well. I've been reaching for it a lot with, you know, with reviewing it and stuff, but like, I kind of like with that primer brush for the eyes, I think to reach for it, which I feel like says a lot. And I really enjoy it. I feel like it's just so nice for packing it on. Got a really nice taper to the side so it picks up shadow really easily. But yeah, overall this is another brush that I'm just super pleased with and really have no complaints about. It doesn't feel scratchy at all, even though it has that taper to the sides. But yeah, this is one I would definitely recommend. So once again, for the sake of using another brush, I'm gonna take this L205 brush. It's an angled brush, but it's too thick for me to ever use for my liner, and it's just, I'm not going to use it for my brows, so I'm going to use it for this. This is the shade Grateful right here, and that's what I'm going to take on my inner corner, and I'm hoping the slant to this brush will help me pack it on and kind of give it a sharp cut crease look, even though I'm not really going with that. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. This is a brush that I don't really have the most in-depth review from like repeated experience with, because this is a brush that I tend to use like I'm using right now, not really for its intended purpose. I can definitely tell you if you're wanting this brush to like do wing liner or something, it's way too thick. So I wouldn't recommend it for that, but I would imagine in the brows it would work really nicely. It's not the softest bristles. Overall, it's a so-so brush. I really can't say anything much about it, mostly because I don't use it for my brows, don't use it for liner, because I don't think it's good for that. So I can tell you that the bristles haven't ever fallen out, so that is good. Okay, so now I'm going to go into, no, I really am kicking myself because I misplaced two brushes from Stilazzi that I really like. So I'm not gonna be able to review it here for you, but please go check out that review if you wanna see a good similar brush to the E25. But anyway, this is the L220 brush. I'm taking a little bit more corduroy. I'm gonna go in with that same brush, the L220 brush, take a bit of black, just kind of do the same thing. This brush is a nice pencil brush. I really like how fine the point comes to, but it it's pretty scratchy. This is a brush I would not use on my lower lash line because it comes to such a point and the bristles are so scratchy. It's slightly painful if you use it on your lower lash line. But for tiny work like this in my outer corner, it works nicely and I don't notice the scratching as much. But now I'm gonna take the Mini Crease Fluff L217 brush. I'm gonna go into Hobby, that first shade that we used in our crease. I'm just gonna get a little bit on it and I'm going to go right over where Hobby is just to bring it out a touch more. This is a fantastic brush and I definitely have a similar brush in my mind. I actually just recently got it from Sigma. This honestly works just as nicely. The bristles are a little bit less nicely cut and a little bit like not as soft as Sigma, but because it's such a tiny brush, and for me at least, I always use it for like really light detail work, I really don't notice it being scratchy, so I really do like this brush, and if it's more affordable than Sigma, this would be a nice brush to get. I feel like it does the job really well. All right, so now I just want to take a bit of the cream, which is that white shade, and I'm going to take this Ultra Precision Flat Liner L206.5 brush. I would imagine if you're someone who does this type of work, clean up around your brows often, you would probably really like this brush. I find it to be really nice and compact. There's, it's not too sparse. There's a good number of bristles there. It's got a nice flat cut to it. And in my experience, because of that flat cut, like, I don't really think it's scratchy. All right, so now I'm going to let's take this mini definer, the S206 brush. I'm just gonna take that shade Corduroy. I'm gonna use it to smudge. And this brush is really nice. I find it to be a really nice quality for the bristles. I feel like they're in there very compact. The cut on the bristles is really nice. And while doing this, it's not soft because it's not like a fluffy brush. It's not scratchy. It comes to a point, so there's a bit of pressure there. It would be really good for packing on the inner corner. That's typically what I was using it for. I'm trying to like use as many brushes as possible, so I'm gonna use another brush for there, but reviewing it, that's when I use this the most. I would kind of save this brush and just use it to pop in my inner corner there because it's really nice and compact, picks up the shadow really nicely, but it does a really good job as a smudger brush as well, in my opinion. Next, I'm gonna take the L202 brush and we're gonna go into Midwest just to do something different. Pick up a different shade in here. I don't know why, but that's what we're gonna do. But I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna smudge out that corduroy shade. This is a really nice brush for detail work like this, but I tend to like it more so if I'm working on my upper lash. Kind of the same story with the other one I was telling you about. It's scratchy. Now, with saying that, like, this is a liner brush, but do you see how large it is? If I were to use it as a liner brush, like that would be a really thick line. So I've been trying to use this brush in different ways to see if there's a nice other, there's some other way to use it. I don't really think it does the best job smoking it out lower lashes, or my lower lash line, and like I said, it's also kind of scratchy. So this is definitely another brush that I would just be like, pass. Okay, I feel like we're good on the eyes for now. I'll probably do my inner corner and stuff after my liner and lashes and stuff like that, but now we're going to take the S203, the mini angled brush. This is a really nice tiny brush. They also have the angled liner. This is still pretty thin, but in my eyes, this one is just a hair thinner, but I like how tiny it is. It makes doing a wing a lot easier, but if you're just wanting to stamp a line, maybe you'll want the bigger one. Quality-wise and the way they perform, they're very similar. So, okay, so now we're gonna segue into the Borderline Intense Gel Eyeliner review. These gel liners are really, really beautiful. They are extremely creamy, but not so creamy that they're like too soft and therefore sheer, but they're really easy to pick up on your brush. I guess I should be showing you. Like, they're really easy to pick up on your brush without getting clumpy. And this is something I always do for gel liners, but I wipe off each side to help get that to a point. But yeah, they're such a nice, soft, I don't want to say liquidy because that sounds bad in a gel liner, but really soft, thin formula. They remind me of the L'Oreal liners in a pot like this, but the L'Oreal one I don't like as much because that one is sheer because it's so watery, but because it's such a thin formula. But this one has a thin formula, but it's not sheer. So I'm not going to talk while I put my liner on. You guys can just watch and then we'll talk in a minute. Alright, so there we go. Pretty darn close. I just can't get over how thin of a formula and creamy of a formula this is, except on top with that, it's still so pigmented. And I feel like I've never really had a formula with a gel liner be that thin and that easy to work with and still be pigmented. The Maybelline used to be my holy grail. I loved it, but it was a bit of a thicker formula, so it was a little bit harder to work with. I really had to kind of clean it off, get the clumps off, that kind of thing. But this is just like a beautiful medium, and it has become my holy grail gel eyeliner pot. If anyone asks me, this is what I recommend them, and I cannot encourage you enough to go check it out and try it out. All right, just gonna put on some mascara and then some gel liner in my waterline. Okay, so for the last shade, I'm gonna use Oh Heavens as my inner corner highlight. I'm just gonna take the S500 brush. Not an ideal brush for an inner corner highlight, I'm gonna admit, because honestly, this brush I like to use when I do a cut crease to really pack on the color, because it's very flat and just picks it up nicely and packs it right on there. But since this is the last brush of this style that I can really use for the inner corner like this, I'm gonna use it for this video. But this brush is also really nice. I think it's fantastic. It is very soft. It does not feel scratchy whatsoever. It picks up shadow really nicely. It holds its shape. Never have any bristles falling out of this, so I really do like it, but it's nothing like super unique, if that makes sense. So overall, yeah, I think it's great. I do recommend it if you need a brush like this. Okay, so we are still talking about brushes. Stilazzi had two for face. This is the Kabuki Flat Face S409 brush, and then they have also the buff brush, the L313 brush. Don't really like either one. We're gonna get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and use this one, the S409 brush first on one side, then we'll do the other one on the other side, and you guys can see both sides and I can tell you my thoughts. Okay, so the reason I don't like this brush is it is extremely stiff. Like, do you see when I push? There really isn't a lot of give, and I should have brought down, yeah, I don't have it. I should have brought down like my Sigma, Sigma F80 brush, the flat top one, but I also have one from It Cosmetics. I have a lot of flat top brushes, and this is the stiffest one I've ever come across. Like, usually with flat top brushes, when you push on it, they have a lot of give. They have a lot of bristles, and so that makes a good brush, but they still have a lot of give. This one just feels so stiff. If I do this, I feel like I'm punching my face. And then if I kind of swirl it, I feel like it's so stiff, it's just swiping the color away. And I've washed it many, many times. I mean, no bristles come out, but it also doesn't really loosen up any either. So yeah, this is a brush, I don't know, I just feel like I'm abusing my face whenever I use it. So bristles don't fall out, because I've never seen a bristle fall out of this, but I just realized that there are some that are just sticking up, and I just went to try to see if it would come out, and it's lodged in there, but there's a couple sticking up, so I don't know, this just wasn't my favorite. And then for the other side, the Buff L313 brush. This, I like how it applies more, like it's much more soft, but I've forgotten how many times I've washed this. At least 5, might even be closer to the 10 number, but every time I use it, I feel like I get a bristle falling out on my face, and that's just, I hate it, because especially since this is white, it's so hard to find a bristle. And I have one on my face right now. Like, it's right here. Yeah, it's just, I don't even know if you guys can see that because it's white, but, oh wait, there's another one. You can see that one. Yep, there's another one. And I've washed this so many times, both with soap and also with my Cinema Secrets. I go back and forth, but I made sure when I was testing these before I was going to review them, I wanted to wash them a couple times with soap and water and wash them a couple times with my Cinema Secret. And here we go again, there's another one. I like how it blends the brush out. I like, if you can see, like it's very like diffused and kind of spread out, and it also has a lot of give to it, so I'm not beating my face. But here's another one on my face right now. What's this, 4? I think this is the 4th bristle I pulled off my face. it just won't stop shedding. And I mean, there's a part of me that's like, hey, if a brush sheds like when you first get it, okay, you know, no big deal. That's sometimes brushes do that, whatever. But this is every single time, and I've used it and washed it so much. I got to a point where like I just dreaded having to pick up this brush because I knew I would be sitting here. There's another one on my face. I knew I would be sitting here picking off. I feel it, but I can't see it because that's another thing. It's white, so it just blends in, but I feel it on my face and I hate that feeling. What's on there? Feel something. But yeah, I don't recommend this brush at all. I am sorry. So yeah, out of all the Stilazzi brushes, this is the one I'm just like, unless I got a dud, which if you bought this brush or received it as PR, let me know if you had the same experience. So I would love to know if maybe I just got a bad brush and like just for some reason none of the bristles are staying in the brush, because this is not fun. I swear I feel one by my nose, but I cannot find it for the life of me. So I don't know if I'm just hyper vigilant at this stage, but anyway, there we go. Foundation is on. So there actually isn't my preference for a brush when it comes to Stilazzi's brushes. So I'm just gonna blend it out with my finger and call it a day. I don't know if I'm gonna cut that part out or if you guys even saw it, if I just sped through it, but I found that little piece of hair that I was feeling over here. I picked it up on my finger and it landed over here. So there was some little tiny hair here. I wasn't going crazy. All right, so now I'm going to take the S510 brush and just gonna take some number 7, what's it called? Perfect Light Pressed Powder, and I'm gonna set my under eyes. This brush is really nice. It's a tad bit big for my preference for under my eyes, but I do like it for kind of sweeping. Maybe if I had bake under here, this would be a really nice one. I think the bristles feel nice. They are not scratchy at all. They feel really soft. They remind me of Sigma quality. I didn't experience any shedding with this brush. It always goes back to the nice dome shape. It's got a beautiful taper to the side of it. Yeah, this is a really nice brush. And definitely one that I would say, yes, it would be really nice for the cheek. All right, for bronzer, I'm just gonna take the Profusion Sculpt and Glow and just kind of, I just use a mix of these shades to sculpt my face. I'll start with the darker one, and I'm gonna take the S305 brush. Thanks to the Taylor here on YouTube, she one time talked about using a dual fiber brush for her bronzer and contour, and now that's literally all I can use, because with that, I never thought of it before, but because it's dual fiber, I don't know, something about that makes blending out your contour so easy and effortless, and I feel like I don't disrupt the makeup under it either because of that dual fiberness. Like the bristles are really soft, they're just feather light on your face. And I don't know, I've been a fan ever since she mentioned that, because before she mentioned that, I never used these type of brushes. Whenever I saw them in sets, whenever like I had one in my collection, I was just like, I don't know what to do with that. But yeah, because of her mentioning that, now this is what I use for contour. Same story with this next brush that I'm going to talk about, is the S306. This is the dual fiber large powder brush, and this is the dual fiber small powder brush. I use both of these. This I use for contour, as you just saw, and then I'm going to take this brush, go into that light contour shade, and I really have to coat it because this shade is a little light for me. But I go in heavy, and I just kind of go over that and kind of just lightly bronze my whole face. I am someone who likes a lot of bronzer, so keep that in mind, but this is just a nice size for me to just go over the perimeters of my face and give it a nice little bronze. So yeah, same story as with the little one. I have had no issues with shedding. I've had no issues with it having any kind of funkiness after I wash it, and this especially is a unique one in my collection. I did not have before this. I did not own a large dual fiber brush like this that would work for bronzing, but yeah, I really do like this brush, and it's one of my favorites. I really do like it, and honestly, kind of can't imagine having a brush collection without it now. All right, so for cheeks, we're gonna also take a little pause from the brushes. We're gonna talk about the Low Face palette. They sent me two. One was for a deeper complexion, so I decided to save that for a giveaway, and I just opened this one. It's a nice little palette. As you can see, it fits nice into the palm of my hand, and it has a little mirror in it, which is nice that they included that in it, and it just has 6 little blushes. Considering this look, I feel like I probably shouldn't go that crazy. I'm just gonna go with My Tai, which is honestly the blush I always reach for. I'm not into super bright, but if you want bright blushes, I do like that they have a really nice hot pink and a really nice, more of a coral color. I do like that not all of the blushes look exactly the same. I will give them that. I did appreciate that thought that they put into this. This is the L312 brush, angled blush brush. I'm just gonna go into that, super duper pigmented. So when I go in, I do tap it off a good bit. Very pigmented, I do appreciate that. And I'm just gonna go lightly. I hope that pigment is coming up. It is coming up very pigmented. One thing I will say about this brush, why I do like it, I like it more for contour. I hate it for blush, but because they put this in as the angled blush brush, I am gonna use it. It's a little too, what's the word? Compact. I like a very diffused blush, so because it's still got a lot of bristles, so I feel like it just makes my blush a little too, well, bam in one area and not as diffused as I prefer. But I mean, as you see, credit to the blush quality, it blends out really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and just go back in just so you guys can see. I'm gonna dust off or clean off the tapered cheek brush, the S510 brush. We use that for setting powder. I'm gonna try that on this side to see if I can get more of a diffused look. So pigmented, so pigmented. Yeah, see, this is more my type of blush color. Like, you can still tell it's blush, but I feel like this is the clown cheek, and then this is like a diffused blush. Of course, preferences. I know a lot of people like blush more, so maybe this is the perfect amount of blush for you, but for me, I'm just like, you can see pink. Maybe I'll go back over with my bronzer bronzer brush, kind of diffuse it and even it out more. But yeah, that blush palette is so pigmented, and I used the softest color in the palette, so I feel like that should say a lot. Can you imagine how pigmented they are? It's a gorgeous formula. I really do like it. And let's go ahead. I'm going to use Rum Punch, this shade right here, and I'm going to try to highlight. I'm going to take the L314 brush. This is a fan brush, and it's a fan brush I like, which I feel like is rare. But we're just going to go into Rum Punch there. I have a feeling this is going to look too pink, but we're going to give it a try. And I'm going to pop it on top. I'm going to kind of keep it lower, so maybe if it doesn't look good, it'll look kind of like a blush topper. Definitely pink. So yeah, this is a blush topper. But I'm just not one for a shimmery blush. This fan brush is amazing. It's really nice. I feel like most fan brushes are so fluffy, but they're so sparse. But as you can see, like, look at this. There's a lot of bristles in there. Usually when I do that for a fan brush, it's just like whoop, and it's all like, that's all the brushes you have. Add to that, it's also got a good width to it, so I feel like that helps in the spreading of the product. It's really nice, and I only own one other fan brush. It's the Strobe brush. It's really tiny, and that brush works, but if you just want a normal fan brush, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit fluffier, a little bit, you know, nicer at diffusing your highlight, this is stunning, and I really like it. I don't notice any issues with washing it. None of the bristles are falling out. They take back to their shape really well, and yeah, this is a brush that I really do like and can highly recommend. So since I have a bit of a weird issue, I guess it doesn't look too bad on camera, but just to try to make it not look so pink in real life, I just feel like I have a very pink face right now. I'm gonna go in with the L307 brush. It's the Strobe brush from Stilazzi. Do I really need to say that, Katie? I'm gonna go into the same palette that I got my contour from, and I'm gonna take Lightning. Yeah, Lightning. And I'm just gonna put that on top to try to lighten it. Did that help? Ooh, I think that helped. What do you guys think? That's pretty. And it's definitely helping to tone down on the pink, so I appreciate that. I'm gonna put my brows on because I'm just gonna run some brow gel through it, and then I'm gonna put on some lipstick, and I will be right back. Alright, so here is the completed look. I have on Lime Crimes L on my lips if you're curious. But yeah, this is the review for Stilazzi. Just kind of wrap it up and recap real quick. I do like this formula. I think that the formula and the quality of these are fantastic, but keep in mind because of the price, because it's not exactly super cheap, I would recommend it only if you are a blush addict and will use all the blushes in here. And to keep in mind that 3 of them are shimmery and 3 of them are matte, so you do have to like the combo of the 2 to make it worth the purchase for you. Brushes, definitely pros and cons. If you want to kind of break it down and see what brushes I recommend that are similar, check out my blog. I feel like I've said that a million times, so I'm not going to say it anymore. But pros and cons, I recommend some. I really don't like others. You really have to sit down, kind of break down the video and take notes as you go, or just check out my blog. I said it again, I'm so sorry. But I have it broken down there so it's easier to kind of reference back instead of rewatching the video a million times. But yeah, some of them really do like, some of them really don't like. And then the gel liners, highly, highly recommend. I think these are fantastic and quickly outshined all my other gel liners. I highly recommend them. And I feel like if you're wanting to learn to use gel liners, I feel like they would be really easy. Keep in mind though that I don't have hooded lids, so don't know about the transfer of these. But for me and my eyelids, they are my favorite. They are my holy grail. But yeah, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this. Get ready with me. Should I do more of these when I'm kind of doing a one brand review? Was this helpful for you guys? I've been thinking of doing a one brand review for Rimmel, so I might do it in the same kind of style, but definitely let me know. Give me your feedback down below in the comments, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.